So I just graduated from dental school. We'd moved up from Dunedin to Wellington. I was living with my fiance and then wife. And we had a lovely house in Wellington where I was the dentist at a local suburban practice, and I would travel out to the Hutt Valley to be in theatre productions and travel into town to do stand-up comedy. And we had a very exciting, busy life. So one morning I woke up, I was on paternity leave. We'd just had our kid, Charlie. This was 2015. And I woke up one morning and this leg was completely numb and this arm was completely numb. I thought I'd just slept on it funny. And I'd actually slept on the couch that night because the baby was in the bed with us. So I remember waking up and just being like, oh, that's weird. I tried to shake it off and it just wouldn't go away. And then I noticed that as I walked around our apartment, I was shuffling around exactly like my granddad used to walk around. My granddad had MS. And so I knew, oh, something's going on here. This isn't going away. So we went into the hospital and did all the things, was diagnosed, and a few days later, and from that moment on, I haven't been a dentist since then. I was forced. I lost all the feeling in my hands, so I couldn't wiggle teeth out or inject people. And I just remember feeling so frustrated with my body. It would take so long to do anything. I remember feeling like I was wearing a seatbelt the whole time. It just felt like this strong strap that was just holding me down. It was there constantly, and I couldn't play guitar. I couldn't type. I had to when I typed, I had to use one finger at a time to do it. And I was writing. I was writing for a TV show then, so I had to sit there. It would take me an hour to write. I remember walking into the neurologist and seeing on the screen they had a picture of a brain on there. And I'm a dentist. I've looked at X-rays my entire career. It's a brain with a big white lesion, a couple of other ones in it as well. I know instantly that's sclerotic tissue in the brain, that's multiple sclerosis. So I processed that on the spot by myself. When the neurologist then said, hey, you've got MS, I was like, yeah, no, I could see it in that photo there. So I've always felt quite grateful that I processed that myself before someone presented it to me. So when I was diagnosed, I slowly realized that I couldn't do dentistry anymore. I kind of still held on to that hope, but I just suddenly had all this spare time where I wasn't working. I just needed to do something. And luckily for me, I had comedy, I had music, things that I liked. And so I kind of filled my life with the things that I loved doing. I started writing more, I started playing more music. Once the feeling came back into my fingers a bit more, I could play guitar again. Luckily for me, you can always sing when you have MS, when your limbs aren't working, you can always sing, and I love singing. I had just become a dad as well. I was so set up to be the breadwinner in my family, to be the person who brings in the money so that my wife can stay home and look after my kid. My wife didn't want to stay home, she's very good at her job, and really enjoys it. But I just always had this idea of being the powerful head of this family that was providing for this new little baby in my life. I remember, weirdly, the hardest thing for me is that, you see all these dads throwing their kids up in the air and having a wonderful time, and I just didn't know if I'd ever get to do that. I remember sitting down, having Charlie placed in my hands, and just being like, oh, look at this little guy. I hope I'm still here to hang out with him. I hope I get to, still do all those things that I always imagined. And I remember I was scared that wasn't going to happen. Luckily for me, it did. Everything did settle down. Everything did work out. And because I was doing the things that I loved, life was just really enjoyable. It was great. I felt like I'd got a second lease on life, like a second chance. And when you do that, you realize, man, your time is short here. You get hit by a bus tomorrow. So you've got to do the things you want to do now. I'm always really lucky. I've always had such a great support team around me. Firstly, because my granddad had MS, my family knows about it. They know how to look after people with MS, and they're just continuing to get to do it with me, which is great. So if you can, please give generously to MS Auckland. They do fantastic work for wonderful people who may be struggling with MS, and it is really, really appreciated. MS doesn't discriminate. Like, it could affect anyone, even you.